Hey, it's Chris, Liege of Games. Let's do this. Doing pull-ups on the side to flex my board game muscles to show you what we got going on this week in the upcoming crowdfunding campaigns. And let me tell you, it's going to be hot. It's going to be spicy. You might even want to watch out and put some suntan lotion on because otherwise you might get burned. Yow! Let's do this. Sorry. Sometimes I just can't help myself. These ideas pop in my head, and the whole CSI Miami thing and Burncycle, and you know where I'm going with that if you know what I'm doing. This is Burncycle. This is going to be launching on the 19th. This is going to be launching on Tuesday. Kickstarter Tuesday. GameFound Tuesday, Backer Kit Tuesday, because that's next week. Anyway, Burncycle, new recruits, and a full reprint. Now, the big thing always with Chip Theory Games is a strategist pledge. Are you familiar with that? You basically pay $500 and you get every single new release of their base games that come out in the future, period. They offer like 10 per campaign. People hit F5 frantically and try and get them. And there was the whole snafu a couple campaigns ago where they let a whole bunch of people in, like 100 and some people instead of 10. And so I think they're back to their usual 10. So we'll see. Now, this is a reprint. The big thing with Chip Theory Games is it's an overproduced, overproduction, deluxeification ad nauseum. And you know what you're getting, and it's great from that aspect. They hold no qualms about what you're getting, how they're pricing it, what it's going to look like. You're always going to get it for a better price during the campaign, and that's why you back their campaigns. Because, I mean, they sell a bunch at retail, but it is a slight markup at retail to get you to back it now, and that's very reasonable. This is no different than the Too Many Bones excursions that they've done. The reviews on this have been mostly positive, but we saw with Shut Up and Sit Down, they weren't as huge of fans. People have been saying that this is the quote-unquote easiest entry point, the easiest game to get into along the Chip Theory lines, which really is not really setting the bar that low, because all of their other games are, you know, and people will clamor and it's not that complex, it's just it is. For the average person, for someone that's not waist deep in the hobby, these are not your games that you're going to pick up, pull out on an average game night, and play with new people. They aren't. Most of their games are lifestyle games in the sense that you need to have repeated plays, you need to learn them, you need to play them multiple times in a short period to get the best understanding of them. And this is a AI uprising resistance-based game where you are going back between an office and a virtual network, hacking in both senses on both realms, trying to overthrow your enemies. And we're just going to see what they have in store for us in terms of the new stuff, the more everything, and everything else that you need to know. So here they're giving you a little bit of information on some of the characters, some of the new bots, and some of an add-on that's going to be available as well. So there's the quote from them, most accessible. So again, the most accessible doesn't really set the bar, you know, in terms of that much. It really doesn't. But it's not for everybody. Just like Too Many Bones isn't for everybody. Just like all of their other games are not for everybody. The one I'm actually more anticipated of, the one I really want to see, is the one that's going to come up after this. Is one going to be in Q4, their project with the Elder Scrolls. That one has me super hyped, and I want to see what they can do because I was not enamored with the previous Elder Scrolls game that came to GameFound last year, and I really want to see what they can do with it. If they can make it, you know, just amazing. And again, I'm not disparaging this game. They make great games, but they are great games that are not for everybody. They are more like leader games where it's a niche within a niche, and getting it because other people are getting it and you're not missing out is not the way to go with these campaigns, period. I don't care if you're saving money, you're still spending more money than a game that you can actually play. So that's going to be the biggest concern. That's Chip Theory Games. That's launching on the 19th. Now, next up on the 19th, we also have Silver Coin Age of Monster Hunters. I will be having my impressions out as well, either tomorrow or Monday before the launch of the campaign. This is solo cooperative competitive. Now, I only played the competitive. It's more of an open world RPG-esque game where you're literally hunting monsters and you're using your actions to traverse just large areas of land, going from city to city, collecting missions, collecting quests, hunting monsters, dice rolling, battling, attacking, upgrading, gaining knowledge, and trying to be the best hunter that you can. It's sort of like The Witcher, if The Witcher was a lot more detail oriented in terms of the mechanisms, though the contrast with The Witcher is it does not use a battling system like the card play and the connections that are used in those cards. It is more of a dice-based system. So that's going to be a very interesting test about how people feel about that. I don't have any hands-on experience with the solo or the cooperative, but I'll give you my full impressions in the next 24 to 48 hours on the game from a competitive side of things, so you can get a little bit more information on whether or not it's right for you, what their aspects are, what are the important things that you may need to consider in terms of figuring out whether or not it's right for you when it also launches on the 19th. Now, this next one, also, again, all of these, except the last one, is launching on the 19th. And this is from one of my surprise hit companies of 2021. This is Postmark Games. And if you're familiar with Postmark Games, they did, I've mentioned it many, many times over the past 6 months, Voyages on crowdfunding at the very tail end of 2021. Absolutely fantastic roll and write game. They've put out 4 maps. The community has designed a bunch more. This is their latest iteration of the roll and write, and this is going to be Aquamarine. And that's about all we know. It's going to involve some sort of diving mechanism and the difference between sort of levels that are going to determine your oxygen level and how well and how deep you're going to be able to dive. There's not a whole lot of information on it yet, but just like with Sunshine City from this past week, and again, if you didn't watch my roundup from yesterday, Sunshine City looks like an absolutely tremendous roll and write. I really think you need to check that one if you've any interest in this genre whatsoever, and even if you don't, that was Voyages for me. That's what really got me into this whole mechanistic side of things. I really haven't been interested before Voyages, but it was a value too good to be true, and I have a feeling Sunshine City is going to be the same way, and Aquamarine might be along those same lines, so watch out. Sleeper hit here from Postmark Games, launching on the 19th. And, of course, also launching on the 19th, I will be having a video come out the other day that the Age of Monster Hunters does not come out, and this is Moonrakers with its new Titan big box and 3 new expansions. I have them. I will be giving you full details on how I feel about them, how they interact, and what the purpose of all of them are. You can see right here on the website, you have Binding Ties, Overlord, and Nomad. Nomad reinvents the contract system so that, you know, it's sort of the 2 big criticisms of Moonrakers in general, the contract system and the alliances. And Nomad and Binding Ties take those and revamp them and give you more accessibility, if we want to use that term from Quackalope, accessibility in order to get people to enjoy those mechanisms, because that was really the divisive thing that people really didn't like, because you couldn't force people. And are you going to split rewards? Are you going to get betrayed? Is it really going to behoove you to do it? And it's addressing both of those criticisms with those expansions, so I'll have my thoughts on that as well. And then you have Overload, which is literally what the name describes. It's just more of everything in a good way, as well as some advanced action cards and new things called Iospheres. More deck control, more combos, more everything that makes a deck building game fly high, if you will. I'm sorry, that's the best I could come up with off the top of my head. But that is also launching on the 19th. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this one. It's been a little bit harder to obtain on the secondary market. I don't think they've had it for wide distribution. And it's, again, just like Chip Theory, IV Games puts out a deluxeified premium product. So you're going to pay for it, but you're going to get it. And if you like that sort of thing, they are consistent with what they're putting out in that regard. So they have a target audience, both accounts, and they put out good work. So if you have any interest, there you go, also on the 19th. Then we have another game called Paleovet. Now, you're paleo veterinarians, right? The combination of saving as many dinosaurs from illnesses and injuries that you can. Now, this, I believe, is a relaunch. I believe I've seen this actually before, where you're using these dinosaurs and trying to save them and match accordingly to basically be able to heal them in the first place. Because, you know, as with a lot of wild animals, when they go into the veterinary office, they aren't exactly happy to be there. So you're going to have to tranquilize them or pacify them in order to actually be able to heal them from the first stamps. Now, the interesting aspect of this game is if you scroll down, you actually gain dice, tokens, or upgrades depending on how you treat them. But also, if you keep them around longer, there's potential for downside, but there's also high potential for upside in terms of gains in your, veterinary office of how they can help you heal others. Like I said, I don't think these are recent videos, so you can check it out if you want to, but it should be interesting to see how this does the second time around. I believe this is the second time around, and I'm not like overthinking this, but if not, I'll put it in the overlay here and you'll see me just being an idiot, because that's true. I'm good at that. 2 to 4 players, launching on the 19th. Going to be an interesting price point. It's going up against some stiff competition, so we'll see how the money spreads out on that day. Next up, we actually have another expansion. This is the Glory expansion for Draconis Invasion, which is another take on the deck building mechanism. Several other expansions and a base game already out. This is the latest that's going to add several different modules to it with more asymmetry to, stand out among the crowd in terms of deck building. This is a 1 to 6 player deck builder where it's more of almost a tower defense style of game where you are fighting off hordes of enemies that are coming towards you, but at the same time you have a hidden quest campaign / reward system where you are going to get special rewards based on which enemies or certain enemies that you are supposed to target. And so it's going to incentivize you to prioritize as you're upgrading, as you're fighting, as you're trying to survive this deck builder. There was an add-on pack that came along with the base game in 2016. There was a Wrath expansion in 2020, and now we're seeing the Glory expansion in 2022. I would imagine that we're going to see bundling of deals, and I would imagine that it's going to be a very interesting test going up head-to-head mechanistically as well as monetarily with Moonrakers. But I think, again, this one has a relatively good support, so I'd be surprised if it, had trouble, but we'll see, because money is going thin around when you got all these big projects launching back to back to back. So that is Draconis Invasion Glory expansion. Launching on the 19th. This is called Project Ironwood. This is adjacent, but I wanted to include it. This is a minimalistic take on the board game table scene, which is going to be a very interesting test of the market because we've seen a lot of these come out in the last couple of years. There was one running over on GameFound just recently. I think he's either still going or just ended, and this is a take on it for $400. So I could use one right here actually in front of me. Larger play area, convertible tabletop, and just minimalistic for people like me who don't want to pay $2,000 for a same functionality as this is offering. And it's already got 5,000 people following this campaign page. That's insane for a table. And so it's going to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, even with the price point being that low. I'm going to be checking it out on day one. It's going to be launching on the 19th. There you go. Also, screwed up on the Draconis Invasion and Glory one. That one's actually launching on the 21st. So I apologize. Next up on GameFound, we have Utopia from Gravity Games launching on the 19th. You not only get to take your favorite Doctor Who fantasy as a Time Lord, but you also get to be a little bit of his nemesis at the same time as a megalomaniac, going through various time zones, trying to accomplish 3 butterfly effects as you use your chrono ships to achieve your objectives. You start out with a total of 2 chrono ships and 2 crew members from various famous historical places and times that are going to have both primary attributes as well as secondary attributes in this worker placement style game from 1 to 4 players. Interestingly enough, different time zones are going to be available to you based on the player count. You're going to be able to get up to 3 other chrono ships that you can use to your advantage if you can play your cards right. 5 primary ability sets that are going to be available to your characters, as well as 13 different secondary abilities that are going to be within these crew cards that you see here. You're upgrading technology. Here are the mission cards, the time zones that are all going to be variable, as well as a solo player count. This is really looking up the line of Anachrony, but with a Doctor Who spin on things. So as a worker placement, we're going to see where it goes. They have a rule book that's available already, and supposedly some tabletop simulator hopefully in the future when it launches. So if you're interested at all, throw the link down below. This is Utopia, launching on the 19th. 2 last games here. Last but not least, though, that really we need to talk about because they just came onto my radar, and this is Shoes Tactics. This is a 1 to 2 player, mostly a solo campaign style roll and write, where you're going to be upgrading, rolling, RPGing as a roll and write. You're going to be using military tactics to try and reclaim areas of land that have been taken over. Train, craft, scheme, and recruit in order to win the game. Little bit of puzzle tower defense, some narrative choices, and you can print it yourself. So definitely going to be a very interesting aspect. Now, next up, we have actually launching on the day. Sorry, Shoes Tactics is launching on the 20th. This is Raigo. This is a Japanese game, which is also getting imported in English. And this is a game where it's sort of a block style building game where the mechanisms that you're seeing here, you start with these 2 blocks in your hand, you move them into the body pieces on the outside, then you lay them and strike them onto the towers, either laying them down and casting spells in order to get gems to then win the game. Now, when you pull up over here the how to play video, which is about 1.5 minutes long on YouTube and on the Board Game Geek page already, it runs you through some of the spells that you're going to be seeing and, using as strategy. The question for someone like me, who obviously doesn't read kanji, is that will I be able to tell those things apart? And I guess it's really probably more the reason they have the marks in the upper left-hand corner, so you can memorize what one is one in that aspect. And then it runs through a little bit of the flow and how things are going to be going and the striking of the towers and just how the interactions are there. I'm actually really interested to see this one, because if this one holds true and the gameplay actually looks solid, this one could be a real sleeper hit as well, launching this week. And this is launching actually the morning that this video is airing. So take that for what you will. Check it out right after this video. Stay tuned for the end of the video though, then go check it out afterwards. Last but not least, I almost missed this one because it's been delayed, I think once or twice now. It's Star Realms, the deck building game, the Rise of Empire Legacy style campaign game, where there are going to be 3 new factions that you're going to be taking part in, and you're going to have the ability to upgrade the cards as you go. I just played a ton of Legacy of Gravehold, the latest from Aeon's End, and this is going to manipulate the cards differently as well in a sticker format, just like Aeon's End. And we'll kind of see where it goes from there. They say at the end of it, it's going to be portable or playable with the base game. So that's going to be an interesting aspect of things. I have mixed feelings on the Aeon's End Legacy of Gravehold. I'll have my review coming out next week for that. And so hopefully we'll see a little bit more of what Star Realms can do in the same aspect. Will it really capitalize on it? It's been sort of, a few years since we've seen it on crowdfunding. We'll see where it goes. We'll see what exclusives, what promos, what incentive there is to be getting it on crowdfunding. And we'll go from there, launching in a very heavy week overall. There you go. Over and unders, who cares what they were last time? I don't even remember what the previous ones were. I screwed all those up. It's been 2 weeks. Who knows? It's too far back in the past to look at it. Let's just go straight to the ones that we're going to go for next week. Dice Throne is already going to be ending. Dice Throne is just an incredibly short campaign. Let's say, does Dice Throne break 900,000? I'm going to go, no. I'm going to say under. I'm going to say just under 900,000. I think that's a fair bet. Let's see, what else we got going here? Not a whole lot. Let's see what's ending soon. Not a whole lot's ending soon, but let's go over to Summit Sanity in the big box. It's easily going to break $100,000, but does it break, let's say 120,000. And again, I'm going to go under. I think people are saving their money. I think this is an expensive project, but that's okay. And then we have Company of Heroes that has 5 days left. Let's put this over or under $250,000 over $1 million. So I know I said that in a very strange way. It came out wrong, and so you just roll with it sometimes. It's the fun of Liege. $1.25 million. Again, I'm going to go under because I don't think you can get $350,000 in the last 5 days, but I'm usually wrong on these things. So that's why it's a fun game to play. There you go. So that's it. That's the roundup. That's quick, dirty, easy, and everything you need to know all in one place. That's what's going on. 26 is going to have our first foray into the backer kit side of things with Return to Dark Tower. So I'm going to be watching that very closely. And please, backer kit, make a better site. Come on, give us a little bit of oomph. I'm minimalistic, as I just said, with the tables, but come on. Anyway, wrong project. So where are things at? I had a great vacation. Got probably half a dozen games played, but my nieces and nephews, they really enjoyed 2 games in particular. Got them to play. They were super excited, asking to play throughout the week. Quacks of Quedlinburg and Die Wandelnden Turme, or The Wandering Towers, the new one that hasn't been imported yet over or brought over to North America. I have a copy of it. Spoilers right here, right now. I'm going to have my review coming out in the next week or 2. I'll tell you right now, it is going to be on the short list for Spiel of 2023. I'll put that out there right now. I have no qualms about saying that. It's probably going to be a top 10 game of the year for me. It's not going to appeal to everybody, but boy howdy is it fantastic in what it does and the appeal that it can bring to across the board. So highly recommend you check that out. Otherwise, I'm just watching a smattering of stuff right now on TV. I'm catching The Insider, the Korean show where a judicial training, basically a guy trying to become a prosecutor or a judge in Korea gets set up and thrown into prison as sort of a pseudo undercover thing, but then basically his cover's thrown away, so he's left to fend for himself, and this subsequent resulting issues that come with it, and the gambling in the inside versus the outside that goes along with it. It's playing a very heavy element of like poker and things like that. So very interesting series. Just otherwise a smattering of things here and there. I watched finally the movie over vacation, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was a weird movie, and I understand why people said it was a weird movie, but it was also just a really strange movie. Like, it was good, but like people saying it's the best movie of the year, the best movie they've seen in a long time. I'm like, I mean, it was good. I wouldn't go that far, but it was good. And just watching the second season of Capitani on Netflix. That's a Luxembourg, Belgian sort of crime drama, second season there. That's about it. I really don't have anything else. I picked up Fire Emblem, the Three Houses for Switch on the last Board Game Geek math trade in June. By mistake, I think. I've played it a little bit. I think I'm probably just going to end up selling it. I don't know. I'm looking more at a couple of the ones that are coming out later this month. I think there's one that's coming out later this month that I'm seriously interested in. I forget which one it is, but it's coming out like on the 29th. A similar game, but different in the same... it was Xenoblade Chronicles 3. That's what it was. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming out later this month. And I never picked up 2. I've been meaning to pick up 2 for a long time, and then all of a sudden I saw 3 was announced. So I'm like, why don't I just pick up 3? Pick up 3 at the end of the month and just call it good, and sell Fire Emblem to recoup, half the cost of the other. So I don't know, we'll see. We'll go from there. It'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. And I just need to get some stuff played this weekend. I'm going to be playing, like I mentioned in the video yesterday, I have a copy of Leviathan Wilds. I have a copy of Isle of Trains. I'm working through a couple reviews. I've got a couple old reviews from the old setup that are going to be coming out this next week. One of them, the sound got completely screwed up on. I had it all filmed, and I'm refilming it because I'm not going to subject you guys to the horrors of the echoes of that. So I have to refilm that one. And then I'm working through Aeon's End, Legacy of Gravehold right now. We started that over the vacation, and I'm going to try and get that finished to a significant degree so I can talk about that. At some point, my Oathsworn Pledge is going to arrive, so that'll probably get played in about 6 months or 8 months. And we'll see what else happens. So I've got a couple of the review copies that are needing to get played as well, and I've talked about, as well as one coming up next month called Trailblazers. A little bit of everything else out. So that's it. That's where things are at. Hopefully that's interesting. Hopefully that's helpful. Let me know where you're at. Let me know what you've got on the rest of the July month as well. Check out yesterday's video. I cannot emphasize that enough. There are a couple sleeper hits, like I mentioned, with Sunshine City, as well as Colossus, the solo game. Really deserve some attention and some shout outs that are not otherwise going to get it. So that's why I like doing that video yesterday. I completely forgot to get the miniatures that I did. So sorry, I'm not going out and getting them right now. We'll tune in for next week or later this week. Put out a little special snippet, because I'm also going to be ranking and going through some of the Marvel X-Men United stuff, and I got a lot of that played. So we'll have a video out there, and maybe I'll show off my miniatures in that video. So a little bling bling, for what it is. And that review was out earlier in the week too, so check that out as well. Last week, I don't know, whatever it was. Arguably one of the best, if not the best, CMON game out there. I'll fight you in the comment section of that versus Cthulhu Death May Die, although this is much easier to get to the table, so it's kind of edging things out right now. There you go. That's it though. I've blabbed down enough at the end, and you're sick of watching me or hearing me or listening to me or talking to me. Like, comment, subscribe if you want. Please help me. I'm getting to 6,000. Can we make it to 7 or 8 or 9? I would love to make it to 10. Hopefully this setup and this clarity will help entice people to be interested in more things that I'm putting out there, but I'd love it either way as well. Patreon post this weekend. I'll let you guys know a little bit of background, and just thank you for the support regardless. Stay classy. See you around. Have a great weekend.